On this episode, Ella is still very tired. We also go to a space center.
And visit a national wildlife refuge. Plus, we're going to give you a big update on our epic national park tour.
Including the 4 parks you can expect in the weeks to come.
We're Howard and Caitlin Newstate. Dog people, food people, adventure people. We've been living on the road for the past 5 years, traveling in our Winnebago RV and jet-setting to destinations around the globe. Each week, we bring you along with us to show you how to live like a local in every new state we visit.
Well, hello from Florida's sunny Space Coast.
In 2018, before we even had our channel, we visited Space Center Houston.
And in 2022, we visited Spaceport America in New Mexico, home to Virgin Galactic and many other space programs.
And continuing our space theme, today we are taking you to some of the must-visit sites here at Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex, which is a bucket list item for so many. NASA has a long history of operating here on the east coast of Florida, dating back to the early 1960s. As the space program grew in popularity, it was clear there was a need to allow the public closer access to the action. The visitor complex originally began, if you can believe it, as a self-guided driving tour through the grounds here at Kennedy Space Center. And since those early days, it's now grown into a world-class attraction where you can travel through the history of space exploration and get an up-close glimpse into past and present programs. There is so much to see and do here, you can really spend an entire day. You can stroll through the rocket garden where everything was built to fly. Check out the 4 flight-flown artifacts, including the iconic Shuttle Atlantis. There are tons of interactive exhibits, and you can even meet an astronaut every day. One of the main attractions here is the Space Shuttle Atlantis, the real shuttle that rocketed into space 33 times and last blasted off from right here at Kennedy Space Center in 2011. It carried 4 astronauts whose mission was to deliver supplies and parts to the International Space Station. After the 12-day mission, Atlantis returned to Earth, marking the end of the 30-year Space Shuttle program. Today, Atlantis is on display as only the astronauts would have seen it in space, rotated at a 43-degree angle with its payload doors open and its Canadarm extended. This is what it would have looked like if it had just undocked from the International Space Station. So they have a slide that you can go down that demonstrates the angle that the orbiter returned to Earth at, and it is much steeper than any other aircraft ever.
Do a good job, Caitlin.
One of our favorite parts of the visitor complex is all the interactive exhibits that you can try out.
Can you handle working in space?
I don't know.
Use your arm to select a mission. Then wait. Use your arms to move sideways along the ISS handholds. Use your left arm to drag yourself to the left.
Keep going.
Drill from the top down.
Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex is like an amusement park and a museum all rolled into one. Your admission gets you access to the many exhibits and even a bus tour of the grounds, including a ride over to the Apollo and Saturn V building, dedicated to the moment in history we all know, putting humans on the moon. Adjacent to the Apollo and Saturn V building are grandstands with a very special view.
Okay, we're here at the Banana Creek Launch Viewing Area, and this is the closest public area for viewing launches. And it's amazing because you can see not only SpaceX, but also SLS and other NASA launches from this site.
And if you want to see what it's like to witness a launch in person, fellow RVers Keep Your Daydream, better known as KYD, just released their video on attending a SpaceX mission to bring NASA and international astronauts to the space station. And if you happen to be on Florida's Space Coast and want to try to see a launch for yourself in person, we'll have a link in the description for more information. So we came to Port Canaveral for some lunch after all that walking around, and we came to Fish Lips, and it was so good. Not only did we have a beautiful view out over the water, it was kind of like lunch with a show because the dolphins were jumping and the pelicans were diving, and the food was delicious. I had a jerk mahi with like a pineapple salsa on top. It was so good, and Howard had a seafood Diablo, which I snuck a bite of. It was also very yummy. On our way home, we decided to make a quick detour to the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge. And at the Visitor Center, we got some great intel that there is a wildlife driving loop that we can do with stops along the way. So we're heading there now and hoping that we can see some birds and some alligators, maybe some fish.
We gotta go slow so we actually see some things.
You gotta whisper too. They can't hear you.
Maybe they can.
There's a duck. I saw a duck.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, what did we just see?
We saw a huge alligator. That was after seeing 2 tiny alligators. And then I guess it was like a speckled double-breasted pink-toed warbler that this woman had like a 600 mil lens on, and it was probably the shot of a lifetime and we couldn't see it.
We have already seen so many birds out here along the Wildlife Drive, and there are places that you can stop and get out. We're actually getting ready to go do a little, I think it's a wild bird trail, and there are blinds that you can sit in and wait for the birds to come. We've also seen a bunch of alligators, and the interesting thing is most of them here are very tiny, except for that one massive one we saw. The rest of them are babies, and then I saw some fish and one big turtle under the water too.
What do you see, Kayla?
Some birds. They're like little birds. We need like a bird book of Florida. Birds of Florida book. So that we know what we're looking at.
So we just found out that we've been looking at willets. A birder came by and was like, are those willets? Those are willets. They're willets. Sure hope that we see a white and purple Saskatoon switchback. Maybe there'll be a yellow ringneck Scotch egg swallow. Is that a great northern wingnut sparrow?
We may not have seen any of Howard's mythical birds, but we did see a lot of wildlife, and this was a beautiful driving loop that we definitely recommend doing if you're in the area.
Well, after 2 months in Florida, it was time to hit the road because let's be honest, we got to hit 51 parks this year.
I know, the first 3 that we started out with have been awesome, but there is a lot more ground to cover out there. And before we left Florida, we went out with a bang. Howard surprised me with a trip to Disney World. Well, good morning. Kind of an odd morning because I have no idea where we're going or what we were doing, and it was so much fun. We actually were able to take a little bit of time off and truly just enjoy it with the cameras down. I mean, we still took pictures in some video because, you know, let's be real, we can't fully turn it off.
No.
But we didn't vlog it, and it was just nice to be able to enjoy that together.
It really was. We stayed at Fort Wilderness, which for us is like a bucket list campground. We're here.
Yay! This is a great surprise.
Well, everybody talks about it, but we'd never done it before. It's kind of a bucket list item for us, but it's great to be on site there. I mean, you can use all their transportation. You can take the boats, you can take the buses. You don't have to worry about parking. You don't have to worry about driving.
No, it was great. And we covered a lot of ground. We visited all the parks in 3 days. So it was a lot of walking, and it was awesome.
Which brings us to, where are we right now? Well, we're in California. We're actually at Death Valley National Park. That's the 7th stop on our national park tour. So in the weeks to come, in no particular order, but this is the order that you'll be seeing them, we will be going to Big Bend, Saguaro National Park, Joshua Tree, and then Death Valley.
And there's so many incredible stories that are coming out of these parks, and we are so excited to put it all together and share that with you.
So we're kind of going on a clockwise route, going from Florida, working our way west, and now we're in California.
And we're going to be kind of making like some dips inward and some S motions because we actually have to be back in Texas at the beginning of May for a very special reason.
That's right, because it's going to be the finale of RV Unplugged and RV Unplugged's first rally. So that's May 4th through the 7th. You'll be able to see the finale with us as we live find out who is the winner of RV Unplugged Season 1.
And by the time you're watching this video, the first episode of RV Unplugged will have aired. If you don't know what RV Unplugged is and you're like, what are they talking about? This was the reality show that we filmed back in the fall. It was an incredible experience, and we're so excited that it is finally here. And you can go onto their YouTube page and learn about all the backstories of our fellow contestants. And these are people that, even though we were pitted against each other, we've made actually like lifelong friendships with, and it was really cool.
It's true. Well, the other problem though is that it's not in an RVer's DNA to compete. We actually always want to help each other. So I was always conflicted on the inside. Like, I'm trying to help the person, but I'm also trying to win this.
So you're going to have so many fun things to watch this coming spring between our national park episodes and RV Unplugged every weekend. It's going to keep you pretty busy.
It's true. And speaking of busy, we have a lot of busy weeks up ahead to try and hit 51 parks this year. So if you have any recommendations on, your favorite parks, or if you live near a national park and you want to give us a local's perspective, please do that. Drop us an email, a comment, you can message us, however, pigeons.
Yeah, send a carrier pigeon.
Whatever. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, because I'm starting to really dive into the Pacific Northwest right now, and there are several parks up there that we have never been to before, like Olympic National Park. That's a huge park, a lot of ground to cover, and I know there's a lot of really special things there, so that's just one example. So send all that info our way. Well, we're gonna get to filming here in Death Valley National Park because there's a lot of ground to cover here.
And Ella is finally asleep. This is so important for her.
So now we can't move. Can't go film.
No. But thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.